Thank you, everyone. So I wanted to spend a few moments introducing you to the understanding of why this was important to focus on today. September is a holy month in the religious calendar, and Debbie will of course be leading us next week as we begin the high holidays in the Jewish tradition. But September is also in the Hindu tradition, usually it's between the middle of August and the middle of September. This important festival comes. And it's 10 days, it's expression of devotion and gratitude. And of course, in doing so, it's a focus of remembering and asking for happiness, prosperity, success. It's also, in a similar way to Rosh Hashanah, it's a celebratory, but it's also a reflective time. And in these 10 days, people from all different backgrounds, all communities come together, and they devote that time to different festivities, including even intellectual discourses, poetry recitals, performance of plays, concerts, dances. And at the end of it, rather interestingly, as you saw in that video that I played at the beginning, Ganesh is always formed out of clay. That's part of his story, which I'll touch upon a little later. But that clay is designed so that at the end of the 10 days, it's immersed in water and it's meant to dissolve. And of course, that has a lot of powerful symbolism, not least of which, of course, is that understanding that we are the same, formed of clay in many regards. We too will one day dissolve back into the earth. And it's also a reminder about letting go. And even though, as we'll see in a moment, Ganesh is there to listen and to absorb our wishes and our desires and our hopes and our dreams, there is also that dynamic that in asking there's also the letting go. It's also a time of great charity and distributing food to the needy. And I want to pause for a moment and say that very often when it comes to Hinduism, I think that there is a misunderstanding that a lot of people think that it's a worship of idols and that there are thousands and thousands of gods. But I want to start from the beginning by telling you in Sanskrit two words. So Ganesh is considered what's known as a swarup, and he, in other words, is a form, sort of a visible form. But it's to bring out the understanding and the complexity of the formless, which in Sanskrit, and I hope I don't butcher it too much, but it's Para Brahma Rupa, which means, in other words, the formless. So these deities are, in other words, sort of formed expressions that carry so much symbolism to, in our own human way, give voice to that which is almost voiceless and form to that which is almost impossible to describe, the form of something greater and more universal than we are. And Ganesha is, of course, a representative of the same energy which is the reason of the universe. And it's the energy from which everything manifests and into which all things will dissolve. I will explain a little bit about Ganesha's heritage and parentage in a moment. But what I did want to tell you is that we're going to do something a little bit different today, I hope. And just again, a show of hands, if I can. A lot of you have your screens turned off. Maybe you could either turn them back on for a moment or just do a thumbs up. Has anyone ever been to a kirtan? Wonderful. So A kirtan, of course, is a gathering of people who come and instead of chanting, they sing the chants, and it's very much the tradition of the call and response. And so what I wanted to do today was to offer a kirtan for us. I've deliberately chosen one which I think will be easy for us to sing along to. And I've done it purposefully because in this festival, in this time, in this tradition, it's about the power of the coming together, of the singing, of the chanting, because it's there to enable us to embody the truth of it, and also to sort of almost, if you like, get out of our own ways and our own minds. So in a moment, you'll see the words posted before we do the kirtan, but we're going to chant something, and I'll say it to you in 4 parts. So it's Om, Gam, Ganapatiye, Namaha. I'll repeat that. Om, Gam, Ganapatiye, Namaha. So if we break that down into 4, Om, of course, is the sound that represents the birth of the universe and the connection, the life force, the energy, the sustaining energy between all living beings. Gam is the sound of the root chakra, and it's thought to awaken energy at the base of the spine. And according to Kundalini Yoga, Ganesh resides, and the spirit of Ganesh resides in that chakra, in the first chakra, the root one. And it's where Ganesh's energy is thought to reside, at the base of the spine. And Ganapatiye is another name for Ganesh. It's in another way, it's addressing Ganesh and recognizing him as the remover of obstacles. And then Namaha, which is a synonym of Namaste. In other words, the divine in me sees the divine in you. So it's Om, Gam, Ganapatiye, Namaha. And so it loosely translates as, let's wake up root chakra energy of transformation so that we can move through obstacles with ease. I'll say that again. Let's wake up root chakra energy of transformation so that we can move through obstacles with ease. And chanting it enables that to happen. And it represents a willingness in us to push past blockages, whether they are perceived or whether they are real, and to go through life with determination and a strong sense of self. And as we know, it's very easy at any moment in our life to make excuses of why we can't do this, or we can't achieve our dreams, or we can't overcome something. And sometimes it's easier to focus on the challenge rather than the overcoming of it. So saying a mantra, chanting a mantra, even as simple as it is, it's loaded with power and possibility. And so the chant itself is something that you can do at any time, anywhere, whether you're driving or walking or at the gym or washing the dishes, whatever it might be. And it's there to enable us to align ourselves with the energy of action. And it's easy and it's uplifting, and the potential for results is great. So what I would like us to do before we enter the kirtan, where you're going to be listening to the singers, they're going to chant, and we are going to reply, is to take a moment and put yourself in a place where it feels comfortable and you are able to sort of really engage with that root chakra, that that place at the base of the spine. So whether it's just slightly adjusting the way you're sitting in the seat or the way your feet are connected to the ground, the lengthening of your spine, just an awareness of that line of chakra energy in us. And then before we start the kirtan, I'd like to ask you, is there one thing at the moment that's presenting itself in your life that feels or is perceived to you like an obstacle, something that is tripping you up or holding you back or confounding you or slowing you down or bringing you down? And just to bring that into the awareness of this space and of this moment, and to give that obstacle over. And allow the chant to connect with the Ganesh, whom we're going to discover in a moment, who has huge ears for listening and great capacity for assistance. So we will begin the chant with Om Ganesha Om. It will be repeated many, 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 many times. And then it will go into the chant I just broke down for you earlier. Om Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. And just allow yourself to enter it and almost sort of be mindless in a way of time and space, and to allow yourself to enjoy this moment. And I think this will be our first kirtan together, which is rather exciting. So I wanted to let you know very briefly that I don't know if you are aware, but there is a temple in Flushing in Queens. And it has a beautiful story, and I like to think of it as a lord in Queens. In 1968, a gentleman by the name of Alagapan, dreamed while he was in India that an ancient Hindu god told him to go and visit a medium. And when he was with the medium read some palm leaves and said, "You are being called to back to America, where he had been studying, and you are to build a temple, the first Hindu temple dedicated to Ganesh, in a city that begins with N." And he had no idea, but he allowed dreams and time to evolve a picture until he knew, he could see it in his mind's eye exactly where it was. He just didn't know which city it was. And he thought, well, I'll start in New York because I know New York and it begins with the letter N. And he drove around and around through all the neighborhoods, and one day in Flushing turned a corner, and there actually was a building that used to be a Russian Orthodox building. And he saw the land and he recognized it from his dreams, and he said, that's it, that's where we need to build. And it's still there. And I fell in love with it back in 2010 when I went during my seminary studies. And I know that you as a community love to go on outings, and I would say if you haven't been there yet, I highly, highly, highly recommend you go. It's an extraordinary place, and they have priests there that do these beautiful rituals, and you can do as I did and walk around and find a Ganesh that speaks to you, and and lean into Ganesh's big ears and just pour your heart out, and you will be amazed what might come of that experience. And I love what Alagapa said about this whole experience. Just as all streams lead to the greater body of water, and all mountain trails to the same summit, so do all religions and traditions lead to the same deity and divine God. So as we said, and I'll just touch upon it very briefly, Ganesha carries a wealth of profound symbolism. He's the patron of learning and education, and his huge head represents wisdom, intelligence, and memory. And his large forehead to expose the great intellect that one needs to be able to, that he has, to be able to help us to navigate the challenges of life. The large ears, as I said, representing the importance of active listening. Not just listening to others, but also listening to that innate inner wisdom within us, and to be more receptive. As I said earlier, the trunk represents adaptability and the ability to overcome obstacles. And we didn't touch on it, but of course one of the hands was showing a lotus leaf, which, as we know, is the symbol of the constant unfolding of life. I just want to briefly mention 4 things before we conclude, and that is, what is Ganesh in our modern experience? Well, as I said, he represents both tradition and adaptability, and he's able to transcend cultural boundaries, and his relevance extends beyond Hinduism and religious practices. He's considered by all of those who know and love him as a unifying figure, embodying the qualities of love and compassion and understanding between and among peoples. And a bridge, in fact, between different societies. The second thing is as the remover of obstacles. His head, as we know, represents the wisdom and foresight and intelligence that we can draw upon for things that confound us, whereas his human body signifies the strength and adaptability to help us overcome these challenges that life throws us, both physical and spiritual. And I also love, as I mentioned, the broken tusk about the letting go, but it also reminds us that that there is very often too in this spiritual path there is a measure of sacrifice that we have to do in order to overcome some obstacles. The third, as I said, his association with wisdom and knowledge. He shows us and models for us the ability and the need to listen attentively and to promote effective communication. And I don't know about you, but sometimes even what seems like technology and the modern world enhancing communication, I think sometimes it really doesn't. And it constantly astounds me how people can misunderstand each other, myself included, even in something as simple as WhatsApp. So it's Ganesh's call to pay mindful attention to how we communicate and communicate effectively. And also the call and the charge to keep pursuing wisdom and understanding and to overcome ignorance. And finally, Ganesh as the guide and the protector. As the son of Parvati and Shiva, Shiva of course being that cosmic energy, he is both the melding of the male and the female, and the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And he becomes, as a result, a guardian of us in all of aspects of ourselves. And he is also, I love this, his name is not just the remover of obstacles, but he's also known as the Lord of Beginnings. Isn't that beautiful? The Lord of Beginnings. So he's there to help us not only overcome, but also to emerge into the new ventures, a new source of inspiration. And I do remember very clearly my first time in Queens, when I found a particular statue that spoke to me, and it was when I was going through a particularly hard time. This was in 2010. I was living in New York, and I found a moment, and I just remember I was just pouring my heart out into this beautiful big carved ear. And I went home, and 2 or 3 days later, in dream time, Ganesh actually appeared to me and said, "You asked me to remove this obstacle." And I thought to myself, yes, I did. And Ganesh said, "But what if the obstacle is in you?" And I think it was a powerful reminder at that time that very often we can project onto the outside that the challenges are because this is in the way, or this other person is in the way, or this thing is stopping me. But sometimes the first place to go to is on the inside. Where am I preventing and slowing myself down and stumbling over my own self? So I want to close by remembering that hand up, that blessing, because in Sanskrit it represents protection. The upraised hands represents protection, and a reminder to remember this. And if I close with anything, it's for you to remember this. Fear not, I am with you. Fear not, I am with you. And then at the same time, the other hand in the receiving place, meaning I'm here to give you endlessly. And all that we're asked is to receive. And as a great resounding yes to whatever it is that you brought into this space today and the obstacles you seek to overcome, let it be so, and so it is. I'll try that again.
If you like this video, please like us on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and click on the bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. Thank you.